got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. You can't hold nothing from me. I got a whole lot of money. I got a whole
What is up, fellas? I'm back. I'm back, baby. After a 4-week hiatus, possibly 5 weeks, we lost count. I'm back. I had to come back because that time of year, it's the playoffs. I got to do my Jim Moore impression. Playoffs? Playoffs? That's Jim Moore, the guy from the Colts who got pissed off because someone asked him about playoffs. Jim Moore. It's playoff season, baby. Had our week 13, the last week of the regular season. We made it. I got to be honest, at the beginning of the season, I told you guys, I said, don't worry about paying me right now. The NFL season is probably going to get canceled. 4 weeks into it, we made it. We made it all the way through the season into the playoffs. It was a good season. Proud of everybody. On that note, Banana is also the only person that's actually paid me any money. So if, you top-level fools want to get paid out this season, maybe someone should throw me some bones. Thank you, Banana, for paying your dues. We made it to the end of the season, so I'm going to give you guys a quick recap of the last week action, which a couple of these games actually meant something. We were fighting for the top 2 seeds to see who was going to get the bye week. We were fighting for that last spot in the playoffs, which was super important because we had technically I was the only team that was out of it. There was every team still had a chance to make the playoffs going into the last week of the season. And then I'm going to show you guys what the playoff bracket looks like. We'll take a look at some of the waiver action, if there was any, some trades from today, and get you a look at the matchup of the week for the first week of the playoffs. So let's get into this. Let me get this screen share going. Boom. Boom. All right. Good deal. So our matchup of the week had arguably the biggest implications for the playoffs, and it came down to literally the last play of the last game of the week. This was a contest between one team fighting for a top 2 seed and another team that was just trying to make it in the playoffs. It was Hooch against Mitch. Horses in the back entered the week needing a win and some help to make it in. He was led by a season-high day from Darren Waller. Let me get down to Mitch here. Here you go. From Darren Waller, who had 200 yards and 2 scores for 45 points. Devontae Adams had himself a day against the Eagles. He hauled in 10 for 121 and 2 scores as well. He finishes with 34 points. The Houston boys were just average for Mitch. Deshaun had 0 tutties and 1 interception. He only gets 19. DJ has 44 yards on the ground. He did manage to find the end zone once, which saved his day. Brandon Cooks caught 5 of 8 targets for 11 points. Mitch also started CEH. I believe that was one of those deals where by the time he realized he wasn't going to play, it was too late. CEH did not play. He ended up adding a solid 0 points for Mitch. Going over to Hooch's side, my man started off pretty slow. His running backs did step up. He had Carson getting over 100 all-purpose yards and a receiving score for 20 points. And James Robinson goes 78 on the ground, and he gets a touchdown for 23. His go-to connection of Russ and Lockett, which he's been depending on all year. There are a couple weeks where those dudes, between the two of them, put up 80 points. They didn't really work out this week. Lockett did catch 6 for 63, but he couldn't find the end zone. And then Russ only had 1 tutty, and he also had an interception. So the two of them combined only had 29 points. It looked like Mitch was going to pull it off. He was going to pull this game out big until motherfucking Ginger Mullet Cole Beasley showed up. This fool had 9 catches for 130 yards and a tutty for 28 points. Gave Hooch some life going into the Tuesday night game. That game itself wasn't super interesting. The Ravens pretty much had it wrapped up. They won by a couple of scores. Easy. But Dallas did decide they wanted to get some respect points at the end of the game, so they tried driving down the last drive. Coop's season had catch on that drive and got Hooch within like 1.3 points. Man, they just didn't go to him again. Unfortunately, I think he dropped one across the middle. All Hooch needed was literally one more catch for like 3 yards, and he would have beat Mitch and knocked Mitch out of the playoffs. That did not happen. Coop finishes with 16 points, just shy of what Hooch needed, and Mitch lives another day. He makes the playoffs. Booze wins 138.1 to 136.8. That's how close it was. And with a little help from Andrew, Mitch moves into the playoffs. Speaking of Ange versus Skip is up next. This was a similar situation to the first contest. Ange needed a win and some help to make the playoffs, and Skip needed a win to cement a bye week for the first round of the playoffs. Let's look at Skip's team first. A-Rod threw for almost 300 yards and 3 tutties for a solid 29 points. Mike Gesicki, surprisingly the best receiver on Pat's team, the tight end for the Dolphins. He has 88 yards and a score for 22. Jarvis adds 20, and the Browns win over the Titans. And in that same game, King Henry was absolutely shut down, which killed Pat. He only gets 60 yards on the ground. He adds a fumble for only 6 points. Julio rounds out the top performers with a solid 6 for 94 and 15 points. An interesting note, I didn't look at the benches in the last game, but take a look at this bench right here. Skip decided this week not to start Jonathan Taylor because he hates him apparently, and my man put up 22.5 points on Houston, while Miles Sanders had a gross day. He had 31 yards on 3 carries for 3.1 points. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't really make a difference because the result's going to be the same, but that does kind of suck. So maybe Skip will second guess that JT decision next week. On Ange's side, Ange needed a win plus like 160 points, I think. He needed to score 160 points to outscore Mitch on the season to make the playoffs. DeAndre Hopkins, formerly of Ange's team, who was traded away today, he had 52 yards and a score for 19 points. Corey Davis had a monster game against the Browns. He goes 11 for 182 and a touchdown for 35 points. Tyler Boyd got kicked out of the game for throwing punches. Always a dumb thing to do in a football helmet. But lucky for Ange, my dude had 1 catch. It just happened to be for 72 yards and a touchdown. So although he got kicked out of the game after only 1 catch, he still gets 14 points. Andrew did have a chance going into Tuesday. Lamar helped him out with one of his better performances lately. He throws for 2 touchdowns, runs for another one, and gets 29 points out of it. Zeke, once again mediocre for Zeke standards. He has 95 yards from scrimmage, but no touchdowns, only finishes with 13.5. Andrew wins the game, but he comes up just short of the playoffs. Final score here, 151.7 to 119.5. Andrew does succeed in knocking Pat out of the bye week scenario. Next up, we have Bear versus MJ. Bearman was one of the teams in the hunt for a precious first-round bye, while Matt Jones needed a win and some serious help to keep his season alive. We're going to start off with Bearman, who gets another QB1 performance from his boy Josh Allen, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, 38 points. He's absolutely killing it right now. Dalvin was cooking, 120 yards, 24 points. Deontay had his standard 12 fucking targets, which he gets every week because Roethlisberger, every fucking route they run, Deontay's the dude. He's the number 1 receiver on every single route because Ben's always looking for him. He ends up with 21 points. Bears lose to the Lions, but Robinson goes 6 for 75. The rest of his team did well, all in double digits except Old Man River Frank Gore, who had 1 carry for a whole 2 yards. I didn't watch that game. I don't know if Gore got hurt or if they just decided not to use him. That was a little rough, though. MJ's team, we're going to go down to MJ's team here. This was rough, man. MJ must have been busy polishing bronze metal because his team didn't do shit. His best player this week was Taysom Hill, who did have a nice 315 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns for 27 points. The rest of his team was booty. Eckler back from injury, but the entire Chargers team took a shit, and he only had 36 rushing yards and a couple of catches for 10 points. Myles Gaskin gets 90 rushing yards and continues to take advantage of his receiving chances. He only had 2 catches, but they were for 51 yards, and he did finish with 14. Nyheim Hines, didn't really see much action, but he did manage to vulture a tutty from Jonathan Taylor. Terry Mack was non-existent against the Steelers. And then in probably what was the weirdest stat line of the week, if you will look at Juju Smith-Schuster, my dude had 7 catches for 28 yards. Yes, that is ridiculous. That's an average of like 4 yards a catch or something. Math? I can't do math. Something like that. He only gets 9.8 points. MJ loses this contest, which eliminates him from the playoffs, puts Dale into the loser's bracket, and it helps Bear get that number 2 seed. So Bear is going to have that first round bye. Good job, Bear. The last match of the week that actually mattered is going to be Brown versus Gibbs. And when I say it actually mattered, I just meant that these are teams that are actually in the playoffs. It didn't really matter because regardless, Brian was going to have one of the top 2 seeds and Gibbs was already in the playoffs. So it didn't really matter. Kyler Murray didn't look particularly good for Brown. The Cards offense continues to struggle. He did have 3 touchdowns, but he also had 2 turnovers. He had an interception and a fumble. He finishes with a below average 21 points. Kelsey showed up big. He grabs 8 for 136 and a touchdown for 28 points. Diggs goes 10 for 92 against the 49ers for 19 points. Kamara finishes with an average 17 points. He had 88 yards and a touchdown. The rest of Brown's team does what they've been doing all season. They're putting up solid points. Drake has 14. Ridley has over 100 yards and 16 points. DK Metcalf, even though they lost to the Giants, he still manages 13 points. Going over to Gibbs' side. Side note, does Gibbs know he's in the playoffs? Can someone please inform him to make sure that he knows? Thank you. Not a great day for the Mahomies. Patty Ice has over 300 yards and a touchdown, but he only gets 20 points. Thielen is the top performer here. He goes 8 for 75 and a tutty for 22 points. Ruggs for the Raiders only has 3 catches, but he made them count. 84 yards and a score. And I can't remember. I think Ruggs had that final catch against the Jets to seal the win when my man Greg Williams was over there playing cover 0, fucking blitzing when the Raiders needed like a 40-yard Hail Mary. So, I mean, he got fired, right? So whatever. Let's see. Freak has 6 catches for 58 yards. The Giants, as I mentioned before, they surprised everyone with a win over Seattle, and Wayne Gallman helped with that. He gets 135 on the ground. The rest of Gibbs' team was a hot pile of garbage. Don't need to talk about that. Brown wins 147 to 104. He secures the number 1 overall seed. Congratulations on your championship in advance, Brown. Last matchup of the week. I didn't even prepare for this. I didn't look at this because it doesn't matter. This was I want to call this the Irrelevant Bowl because technically Vinny Bananas had a chance to make the playoffs, but it was basically the same thing that had to happen with me. He had to have everybody else lose, and he needed some help with the points. So in reality, this wasn't really close. So this was the Irrelevant Bowl, Vinny Bananas versus Vincor. We'll go ahead and look at my team first. This is what my team's been doing. See this 110? That's probably like my fucking average score for the season. I feel like I've been right there in that 1-teens all season. Justin Herbert, the fucking Chargers. Oh my God. I don't know what was going on there, man. They lost to England 45-0. He puts up 4 points. He has 2 interceptions. Looks like a rookie quarterback for really the first time this season. Dave Montgomery decided to show up. That was cool. He gets 27 points. Nick Chubb, 17 points in the win over Tennessee. And then Bobby Trees, he gets 10 for 85 for 18 points. That's pretty much it for my team. Robert Tonyan hooking me up with a solid 14. Let's go down to Banana Man, who ended up winning this game. Kirk Cousins, 27 points. Can't be mad about that. My man had 3 touchdowns and an interception. Aaron Jones goes for 24 points. He has 15 carries for 130 yards and a tutty. He gets 27 from Justin Jefferson, who might win Rookie of the Year. He should win Rookie of the Year if they decide not to give it to a quarterback. Michael Thomas with a solid 20 points. This is what wins you games right here. I mean, this is, you get everyone on your team in double digits. Antonio Gibson was let down. He only had 2 rushes for 14 yards against the Steelers. Even though Washington won that game, Gibson didn't do anything. So, oh wow, and he has minus 2 points from his kicker, which makes me feel even better. Explain this to me. Well, that's the Chargers kicker. I thought it was the Patriots kicker. Yeah, that makes sense. They lost 45-0, so yeah, that makes sense that he missed some field goals. Minus 2 points there. Banana Man ends up winning the Irrelevant Bowl, 137-110. Banana, maybe I'll see you in the consolation bracket. All right, enough of that bullshit. We figured out who's in the playoffs. Let's take a look at this bracket. Here we go. These are the guys that made it in the playoffs. With the first round bye, we have Kenyon Diggett, Brown's team, and White House Brown Bear coming back the last game of the week to take that second seed. They both get the byes. Brown will play the winner of Gibbs and Clint, the masturbating with Mahomes and the sons of Katie Elder. Whoever wins that matchup. I'm a little surprised, to be honest, that Clint finishes the season 7-6, because the first half of the season, that dude was looking dominating. I thought him and Brown were going to run away with it the whole first half of the season. So a little surprising that he ends up with the 4 seed there. The winner of that game plays Brown. And then Bearman will get the winner of Mitch and Pat. And I'm not trying to jinx anything or predict anything. I don't know who's going to win this. Mitch, I love you, but I would love to see fucking Rigsby Bowl in the semifinals of the fantasy season. That would be amazing. So I'm going to be rooting for Pat this week. Nothing against Mitch. I just want to see that Rigsby Bowl in the semifinals. Let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the losers bracket. Let's look at these fools. Myself, I'm going up against Revenge of the Dale. I got the 10th seed, man. I locked down that 10th seed about 5 weeks ago. Revenge of the Dale, and then the other matchup will be Vinny Bananas versus Andrew, who has already said he's completely checked out the season, so that should be a good matchup. And then we'll figure out which one of us has to do the beer mile. So that'll be fun. Let's take a look at some of this recent activity here. We did have a trade today. We had a trade. Andrew traded DeAndre Hopkins for what appears to be half of Pat's team. Mike Gesicki, Gus Edwards, and Julio Jones. It's not a terrible trade, honestly. Depending on health, Julio and DeAndre could do that 1-for-1 straight up. Andrew gets some depth with Gesicki and Edwards, which can't hurt him at this point in the season. He's just trying to avoid finishing dead last. Bear picks up Ty Johnson, the Jets running back. He drops Kerryon Johnson. They might be brothers, both named Johnson. Brothers Kerryon and Ty Johnson. Let's see who else we got. The Dream, Vinny Bananas dropped Ryan Fitzpatrick. Dropped him. You must have heard something, huh? I wouldn't drop him. Keep him on your bench. This motherfucking Tua comes out and sucks next week. Ryan Fitzpatrick's about to be in control of an almost playoff team, right? Clint picks up Chowder after his performance last week wasn't too bad. Drops James White. $15. Anyone have $15 left? Good Lord. I haven't had any money since fucking week 6. Clint also picks up Adrian Peterson, drops Josh Reynolds. Clint also adds Ryan Suckup, drops Jason Myers. Clint is taking this seriously. He's making all kinds of roster moves, trying to make this run to the ship. The Dream, hold on a second. How far back am I right now? So the Dream at 3 o'clock in the morning added Ryan Fitzpatrick for $0. And then fast forward to 7:28 in the morning, the Dream dropped Ryan Fitzpatrick. Good Lord, my man. Would you have like a 3-hour change of heart? All right, whatever. Who else we got? Zach Ertz gets dropped. Zach Moss gets dropped. Nothing super exciting here, guys. All right. Finally, let's finish this up. Let's take a look at the matchup of the week. This is my matchup of the week because this is going to be the matchup to decide who plays the already champ Brown in the semifinal, right? So you got Gibbs and Clint. They're both 7-6. You have two completely different stories of how they got here. Gibbs was kind of just so all season. He had a couple weeks he only scored like 90 points, and then he would look good at other points of the season. Clint came out strong at the beginning, kind of faded, and then towards the end there was still fighting for one of the top 2 seeds. So this is going to be my matchup of the week. McCaffrey, that's optimistic that you still have him in your starting lineup, but the dude's not starting this week. So Clint, you know what? Good on you, buddy. You had the first pick, and your first pick has only been active for about 3 weeks this season, and you still made it into the playoffs. So good job on that. I think what's going to decide this matchup is going to be the Seattle Seahawks playing a pissed-off game against the Jets. They're pissed off because they lost to the shitty Giants last week, and Wilson and Lockett are about to come out hard. This is going to be one of those weeks where Wilson and Lockett combined for like 85 points. Clint is going to win this game easily, and then he's going to move on to get fucked in the ass by Brown. So congratulations, Clint. You're going to win this week and to get your ass kicked next week. All right, my dudes. That is about it. I appreciate you guys watching. I will be back next week to recap the playoff action, talk about next week's action, maybe talk about a Rigsby Bowl rematch for the semifinal. Who knows? Yeah, good luck to everyone this week. Good luck to all my boys that actually made the playoffs. Love you guys. Talk to you.
Let me put a little raise in. Whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. Got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. Got a whole lot of money.